When the western part of the Roman Empire fell, the eastern part would grow into the Byzantine Empire. It is going to be successful because many of the rich merchants and aristocrats are going to leave Rome and bring their wealth with them. The city of Constantinople was located right next to the Black Sea and the Mediterranean Sea, and the city was surrounded by mountains on three sides, so the city would only be attacked by water. This made it a really safe place for people to live, and where it's located, it has access to all the trade routes that are coming from Europe and Asia and from North Africa. Um, One of the greatest rulers to rule during the Byzantine Empire is going to be Justinian. Now, Emperor Justinian, he's going to reign from 527 to 565 CE. He tries to reconquer the western half of the former Roman Empire, but he is not successful. The power behind him, though, is going to come from his wife, Theodora. Theodora, she was a former peasant. A lot of people within the empire looked down on her because she didn't come from the upper class of society. But she was very smart, and she was a political advisor to Justinian. For example, there was a revolt in the city of Constantinople, and all of Justinian's advisors are going to advise him to leave the city. But Theodora, she convinces him to stay and keep his power. Theodora, she's going to make her own decisions during a time period when women did not have a lot of power. She was a good diplomat, and she was good at negotiating with other empires. In addition to her political role, she helps build hospitals for the poor. She advocated for women's rights, and she was a co-ruler with her husband. One of Justinian's biggest accomplishments is deciding to revise confusing Roman laws. And this new law code that he's going to have written, it's called Justinian's Code. It's also known as Corpus Juris Civilis. And what Justinian does is he puts a group of people together to study all the laws that the Romans had. He wants this group of people to find out what worked, what laws didn't work, laws that contradicted each other, laws that maybe didn't apply anymore to the time period. And it puts all these laws under one rule book for the Byzantine Empire to follow. Justinian's going to have a big impact on the church and the government. Justinian had control of the church in the East. He's almost seen as a co-ruler with Christ on earth. Another one of his biggest accomplishments is going to be the creation of the church Hagia Sophia, which means Church of Holy Wisdom. His architects are going to create a huge square building that's capped off by a dome. The building is 107 feet across and 160 feet high. It was the tallest church at the time. The interior walls are going to be made of marble and have every color of the rainbow added for a sparkling effect in the building. This church is still around today. However, it's now a Muslim mosque, but it's amazing that it's still standing despite the fact that it was built in the 500s. Another issue that arises in the church is going to happen in the 600s, and this happens in the Byzantine Empire. The Byzantine emperor has a lot of power with the church, and he's appointing church officials and members of the clergy at the time. Members of the church are going to look to statues, images, and relics to help them in their worship. Relics are items like bones, clothes, dust from tombs of saints. They're also going to worship holy images. This is giving people a visual focus for their worship. A series of setbacks, though, happen in the Byzantine Empire. There's a series of plagues, earthquakes, and wars that take place. And these religious images become even more important to followers of the faith. People are thinking that by worshiping them, things are going to get better. So people are looking at icons and concentrating a little bit too much on them. At least that's what the church and the emperor think. So the emperor at the time, his name is Leo III, he decides the icons are making things worse within the empire. So he launches a destruction of them. And the destruction of the icons is called iconoclasm, which means breaking of icons. He outlaws and bans all icons and relics. Everyone is called to remove all sacred images. Any images that were painted within the church walls needed to be painted over. There's mass burnings of images, and all this beautiful artwork is going to be destroyed during this time.